I extend my warm greetings to you, viewers, and I am glad you have joined me on a new week. In the last few days, elections were held in some parts of Nigeria. Edo State had a governorship election, then some states such as Imo, Enugu, Kwara, Sokoto, amongst others, had local government elections. We saw the outcome of the elections in Edo State. Monday Okpeholo, the candidate of the All Progressive Congress, was declared the winner of the election, having secured the highest number of votes.
That Akpebola Monday of APC, having satisfied the requirement of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected. Signed by the returning officer, Professor Farouk Adamukuta, this day, 22nd day of September.
In APC camp, Okpeholo's emergence as governor-elect ushers in an air of jubilation. In the palace of Oba of Benin and at the residence of Adams Oshemola, the climate was all the same.
Very well. Everything and anything that God cannot do does not exist. Thank you. And that is why when ordinary men and women boast of their power, those with wisdom know that power resides only with God. And those who win it on the planet Earth are only the few that God has so anointed. And that is why when some people say election is a do or die, we say no. It's about choice, it's about celebration of the power of the ordinary citizen to hire and fire people who otherwise can even cite death sentence. Now, today, God by his infinite powers has decreed Senator Monday Akpakomisa, alias Akpako Rescue. Some now call him Akpako Miracle because I don't need all of that to make up for the 8-year disaster of Opaseki and Aswed together. Yes. So on this day, I am very first we give thanks to God Almighty that we did all those campaigns without casualty, that we did all those campaigns without any allegation against the candidate and any one of us for visiting violence on anyone. Even when they planned and they did succeeded in killing the guy in order to frighten him, God said, my son who I have anointed will not be frightened.
Very sad indeed. What God cannot do does not exist. God has installed Okpeholo to make up for the 8 years disaster of Obaseki. All this mentioning of God's name by Oshemola is emblematic of how audacious and shrewd politicians could be. As the most powerful political godfather in Edo State, he is now attributing Okpeholo's governorship win to divine intervention. I mean, it is almost laughable. Let's get real. Adams has been a governor of the state for the years, 8 years. He's a former chairman of APC and now a senator. We all know Adams' influence in Edo politics runs deep. He has been the kingmaker for years and Monday's victory is no exception. But instead of owning up to his role, he is passing the credit to a higher power. That's convenient anyway. I may call that politics of piety. It is a clever move. Though by invoking God's name, Adams is attempting to legitimize Monday's win and silence any critics. After all, who can question the will of God? But let's not be fooled here. This is nothing more than a thinly veiled attempt to consolidate power and maintain control. In the world of politics, it is people like Adams who make the real decisions, not divine intervention. Monday's win is a testament to Adams' political machinery, not God's will. Let's give credit where credit is due. The real term here is godfatherism, a system where a powerful, influential, and often wealthy individual, the godfather, exercises significant control over the politician's career, party, or government. It is not a new concept in Nigerian politics. We have had it since the First Republic between Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe and Dr. Jim Nwobodo, Chief Obafemi Awolowo and Chief Bola Ige, and then Malam Aminu Kano and Alhaji Abubakar Remi. In the current Fourth Republic, we have had Dr. Jim Nwobodo play godfather's role to Dr. Chimaroke Nnamani in Enugu State. We have had Chief Emeka Offor play godfather roles to Dr. Chinwoke Mbadnuji in Anambra State. And then one of the most prominent godfather relationships played out between Chief Chris Oba and Dr. Chris Ngige, former governor of Anambra State. So, godfatherism is a part and parcel of Nigerian politics. And in this case, Oshomole postures himself as a godfather to Okpeholo, who some people tout as reserved. Now, even Godswill Akpabio, the Senate president, has cleverly capitalized on this Okpeholo's victory, stating that it was God's will. Take a look.
I believe that this is a turning point in the politics of Edo. This is a turning point in the politics of Edo State. The will of God has been done today. And I regard this day as a day of liberation.
You meant God's will?
Yes, I believe strongly that God's will has been done today in Edo State. And I also want you to know that the will of God for people is nothing but progress, happiness, joy, and prosperity. I believe strongly that the election of Edo, though very tense at the beginning, the outcome is a reflection of the confidence that Nigerians have continued to express in President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Very sad indeed. Meanwhile, the outcome of the election did not appeal to the Ashiwa Ihodalo, a candidate of the People's Democratic Party, who described that the election might be the worst in Nigeria's history.
I'm pretty disappointed. The day started rather on an even canter, and I thought we probably would have a good, transparent, and effective conduct of elections. But as the day wore on, and I saw how things were unfolding, it became clear that the elections were not going to be freely and fairly held. So I'm very disappointed. It's beginning to look like we're having probably the worst election in the history of our country being conducted in Edo State.
Very sad indeed. It is a pity that we have yet to attain to the stage in Nigeria where losers of the election would admit defeat and congratulate winners. Democracy in Nigeria remains an aspiration and illusion, at least in terms of elections. But these elections are the most fundamental aspect of democracy because it provides citizens with a voice and a choice in their governance. They are a powerful tool for expanding political participation and encouraging public debate. To crown it all, elections confer legitimacy on governments, demonstrate that the leaders have the people's consent. Having all this in mind, the situation where Nigerians continually lose faith in elections because of the elections are marked by all sorts of improper practices. That situation will hamper the progress made in other aspects of democracy, such as multi-party system, press freedom. Using Edo election as a typical example, there were about 2.2 million registered voters in the election, but the total number of votes cast in the election was less than 600,000, which is less than 27% of the total number of registered voters. When you consider the population of people in Edo State, which is nearly 5 million, you will realize that the real sense, what transpired in Edo State was not democratic election. A scary majority of the people did not vote. So we are afraid of insecurity, while others blame the unbridled rigging of the election by the ruling party in connivance with INEC. Now, let me state plainly here that democracy is expensive. In fact, modern democracy is the most expensive system of government practiced anywhere in the world. Funding is needed for voter registration, verification, ballot printing and distribution, voting machines, technology, security personnel. It's also needed for candidate advertising, rallies, events, travel, logistics, staff salaries, consultants. Political parties also need money to hold party conventions and primaries, nomination fees, party administration, and overhead. Now, these and many more are the cost of democracy that Nigeria willingly resolved to adopt. But unfortunately, on top of this cost, our leaders have vowed to incur more costs by infusing our democracy with negative labels. In Edo State election, though it was relatively peaceful, the massive proportion of vote buying reported by some voters could potentially explain the victory of the APC.
The political party that we are sharing money, PDP also share, but it's not up to the amount of APC. So as a result of that, because of the money, APC, even PDP members and Labour Party members and other political members follow money. They began to vote for money. They were voting for money, not for any other thing. They were voting for money. Because of the money that they were giving people in the field, they decided to follow APC and vote for APC. In my own polling booth, APC got 185. Then while PDP got 8, while Labour got 3. So for that, I say, well, anyway, we thank God because this is open election. This open ballot box is not a secret election.
Very sad indeed. Political leaders in Nigeria have perpetually used hunger as a weapon to achieve their devilish aim of vote buying, and some members of the electorate are playing along with them. Now, let's turn our attention to the local government elections held in some states over the weekend. Looking at the outcome of the elections, one cannot help to feel more distressed than one could feel at the Edo State election. Let me give you a quick summary. In Bauchi State, PDP won all 20 local government chairmanship seats. Mind you, the governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, is PDP member. In Enugu State, PDP won all chairmanship councillorship seats. In Kwara State, APC won all chairmanship and councillorship positions. Likewise, in Imo State, APC won all the chairmanship and councillorship positions. Now, let me stop here. As most states conduct their local government polls, now I give you 2 examples of shambolic elections from Imo and Enugu states. The Imo State local government election was reportedly a travesty, marred by a blatant rigging and malpractice perpetrated by the APC. Reports flooded in of APC members secretly tampering with ballot papers in secluded areas, while electoral officials were conspicuously absent in many regions. The outcome was widespread disenfranchisement, with many Imo residents declaring that no genuine election took place.
The total election of a community, just few persons, and ANEC workers, or ISEC workers, people are the voters, and the people to write the result as well. Election are meant to return to the communities and their states.
What's happened? Any problem? But the should take a result.
No ballot paper, but
look here. I must tell you to look now. I don't know what you have committed. You are asking me why I must tell you to look.
the whole result, the whole ballot paper.
You don't this one.
We win the election. After that was a person voted like more than 100 persons. At the end of the day, you will talk to tell me that it's the community or the people that give the election.
Okay. You get lucky for breakup.
If I see something for breakup, I will bust your head now.
Yeah, wait to reach.
Yeah, wait to reach. Okay, my way to reach.
Ezini, the local government, Itu local government. There was no election in Ezini, the local government. There was no election in Ezini, the local government. Even one booth, all electoral materials are on the road. No election in Ezini, the local government. No election in Ezini, the local government. No election in Ezini, the local government. We still have all electoral materials along the road.
Very sad indeed. The videos you just watched are just a tip of the iceberg of the malpractice that marked the Imo elections. It is disheartening to know that some voters actively aided the APC in rigging elections. Their complicity undermines the very foundations of democracy. These individuals prioritize short-term gains or personal interests over the well-being of the community and the integrity of the electoral process. Anyway, to Enugu State local government elections, the reports were the same. Electoral malpractices everywhere in many parts. Now take a look at some lamentations of Enugu voters.
right. Reporting from Ogward 1 Correction Center, the materials arrived, but no result sheets in the election materials. And secondary, all the NSEC officials, they are all PDP members. So what's happening now? You can see the boss, no result sheets. The members of the NSEC, which are PDP members and PDP agents, they want us to accept the materials, which has no result sheet, but we insisted if there's no result sheet, we are not going to receive the materials for election. And we declare today, no result sheet, no election will be conducted in the whole pre-unit in Ogward 1.
Very, very, very sad and dissatisfied with this election. I came back from Lagos for this election to vote in my polling unit. This is supposed to, what? 007. 007. That's my polling unit. I came back here. This is what's the time now.
It's 1:30.
1:30 as at 1:30 p.m. There's no election. There's no electoral officer. There's no polling booth. I was told that they brought the polling materials at a central place called Ajaba. And some people hijacked it. Solomon Ojoku, Anozie, and one boy they call what's his name? Makanata. They took it to their various homes. Is that election? Is there house election places? I came here, I'm a Labour member. I want to vote for my candidate. And I came here and nobody brought in the electoral material. What kind of country are we doing? What's happening here? Nobody brought in the electoral material here. This election is fraud and it should be cancelled. There's no election in Enugu. As long as this election is concerned, no election held. This is a party stalwart. Nobody is that. These guys, they came to vote. If you feel that many people came out, nobody voted. He's an agent, a party agent. So we should be holding Anozie accountable, Akanata, and who again? What's the name of that boy? Solomon. They said he slapped somebody. Is that how to win election? I thought the election should be free and fair. People should be allowed to cast their choices. Vote for who you want to vote, that you believe that the person should be able to deliver. It was not done, and I'm dissatisfied. I flew from Lagos to Enugu Mako. I spent about 150,000 naira for my flight, and I came here, I could not vote. This is highly bad. It's not acceptable.
You are, madam, may we know you?
My name is Ikiru Kamado.
Okay. What happened at Oyachonoku, polling booth 009? 009. Ndi Hemeri.
Yemeli no Oyachonoku. After Hanebi, and she had a man to vote.
Which can the
PDP, my fine brother, Michael or Gamma. No, that's him of your grandma. You need your man. How about the picture? Two mad. What
happened? They started beating you women. They started beating you. They started beating you. Human rights must hear this. They beat you also, madam. So you sustain this injury from them. Why? Sorry, madam. Okay. Human rights must hear us. Is that so? Human rights must? Human rights must? Human rights must?
All right. For the benefit of those who do not understand Igbo, the woman in the last video was crying over the horrible experience in the hands of the PDP thugs. The woman and fellow voters caught PDP members tampering with ballot papers. When she confronted them, PDP thugs violently assaulted the group, leaving one person bruised. The woman's testimony exposes the ugly face of electoral malpractice in Enugu State, which undermines the democratic process. Such actions by PDP members and their supporters not only disenfranchise voters, but also perpetuate a culture of violence and intimidation. At this juncture, viewers, what do all this democratic mess reveal about local government autonomy in Nigeria? A perfect answer had been provided by Professor Odinkalu. Professor Odinkalu, an intellectual political analyst and former chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, shared an insightful commentary when the Supreme Court ruled on local government autonomy earlier this year. The Supreme Court judgment granted the local councils complete leeway to control their finances. While most Nigerians jubilated about it, Professor Odinkalu expressed some misgivings as regards its genuineness. Now, according to him, I quote, "A local government chairman who has been installed in the rigged election controlled entirely by the governor will give the fund back to the governor. What this person is going to do is to collect money and hand it back to the governor. So all they are doing is altering the sequence by which the money will go back to the governor. But the money still goes back to the governor. And the reason the money will go back to the governor is because the mandate as a matter of jurisprudence set by the Supreme Court is not with the people. The mandate is in the politicians' hands. Until we address this, we are wasting our efforts and time." End of quote. Wow. That was a prophetic and brilliant political commentary by Professor Odinkalu. And I think I agree with him on that. Yes, I agree with him. 25 years of democracy, yet we still hear of political leaders subverting the will of the people by the massive rigging. They disenfranchise fellow citizens and undermine the legitimacy of their government. Our leaders perpetuate a culture of corruption, entrenching the notion that power can be seized through deceit, but not merit. As for the masses, a lot of civic education and critical thinking are required for them to reach a level of what I have described as democratic enlightenment. The masses need a lot of audacity to understand their rights and responsibilities within the democratic process. Only through democratic enlightenment can voters speak with one voice in their rejection of all forms of electoral malpractices, I tell you. On the part of the government, a painstaking and total reform of our electoral system is urgently needed to bring about public trust in the system. The introduction of beavers did not address electoral malpractice that much. Instead, what it did was to stimulate better public understanding of the rigging process and give corrupt politicians a platform to explore digital ways of manipulating the electoral process. Therefore, until the federal government institutes a complete overhaul of our electoral system, our country remains bereft of honest democratic elections. That's all I have for you today on the editorial thought. I am Tochukwu Raphael, speaking for the Diaspora Digital Media.